Okay, first of all, how's everybody feeling tonight? Wait a minute. I done worked all day. I'm a teacher, 32 years with these kids, and y'all gonna give me some energy tonight. How y'all feeling? That's what I'm talking about. All right, I'm treating this just like another open house. I love open house. I'm like literally one of the only teachers that likes open house. The other ones are like, oh my God, it's open house. I'm like, oh my God, it's open house. So first of all, before I even introduce myself, I got to get this out of the way. I got to say thank you to Mr. Will back there and Miss Pam over there for putting this thing together. There they go. And also my pastor. And if you didn't know, this sanctuary community center doubles as a church on Sunday. And it's none other than Pastor Leanne Younger of City View Church back there. Now, I got to say this because I know every time I get a mic, Pastor's like, come on, Margo, come on, Margo, come on, Margo. So the whole time I'm going to be thinking, is Pastor cutting me off right now? And so I'm going to go my speed, but at the same time, I'm going to be thinking about Pastor Leanne, and I'll probably speed up a little bit every now and then. So once again, thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you for all the storytellers. Storyburg is an amazing experience, I don't know what to call it, community event. My name is Margo Hinton. I'm a teacher, like I said. I teach in North Allegheny School District for the past 32 years. I know what you're thinking. I know I look like I started yesterday. Thank you. And I'm very excited to be here and be part of this again. So I was in, I believe, the first one, Ms. Pam. Yes. And then I've attended two, I think, since then. And so this is my third one. I've been here so much, they said, hey, come back and be the MC. So that's what I'm doing. Let's see. There was like a little questionnaire, and I sort of answered these questions for myself. So I'm just going to show y'all the questionnaire, and we're going to go over the ground rules, then we're going to get this party started. So my favorite game growing up was basketball. Boom. Mr. Mike back there. And then where's she at? Malaeja, where you at? And Malaeja over there, my fellow hoopers in the building. There might be some more. So basketball was my favorite game, but I also played bid whist with my grandmother, 500. I used to play the game. I don't know what it was called, but you would build like houses and stuff with the cards. Y'all remember that? Anybody do that besides me? Yeah. Remember that? So and they would fall down. Somebody would breathe too hard and the cards would fall apart. Y'all know. Favorite games. And the favorite game I attended was just last Sunday. Just so y'all know, I was at Game 7, Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Orlando Magic. Yes, I was. That's why I wasn't in church. Sorry, Pastor. All right, y'all. No, that was a decent excuse. But I want to shout out, he's not here, but Dr. Jamil Bey, he had us in the suite in Cleveland, and it was like an amazing time. And if at midpoint here, when we have the intermission, you want to see some of the footage, I got it for you. All right. Also, let's see. Okay. Oh, I wanted to say this because I was talking to Mike and I was talking to a couple of other people about basketball. Like I would be playing basketball probably now and in my sleep if it wasn't for like the necessity of a knee surgery right now. So if it wasn't for that, I'd be running around here acting crazy. So I'm gonna calm down, sit down, and let everybody else do their thing. And so let's move on. Ground rules. So this is the structure. I'm just reading from the page that you guys probably already saw, but let me give it to you. So Storyburg is the thing, y'all. This is it. It says tellers have to agree to be coached. So that's all they got here. The story is about a change that happened to them. And there is a time limit. Is there a time limit? I didn't know that. There's a time limit? Okay, all right. On me, Pastor will give it to me. And there's a little bit of audience participation. The theme is game changers. And so I want you thinking about this, but not while people are doing their story. But I'm gonna ask y'all as we go through this in between people, like who's your game changer in the music industry? Who's your game changer in basketball? Who's your game changer in science? So think about your game changers, but don't get distracted by that now because we got to get to the thing. All right. Before we get to the thing, I did write a Storyburg poem, you guys, because that's what I like to do. And the Storyburg poem that I wrote is a surprise to Pam and to Will and to Pastor Leanne. And the poem basically, and of course I should have had that ready. Basically, nope, that's not it. gives you the ground rules for being here. All right, so get in the mood. Picture this, picture this. So it's called Storyberg. Storyberg, have you heard? This is where our emotions get stirred and the lines get blurred, where other stories emerge, where we are welcome to observe, asked to defer with no need to concur. In other words, you don't have to agree with everything you hear, right? Our opinions and judgments, we left them at home. Everybody say at home. That's it. And now we enter the demilitarized zone, which I love that. Where others are not othered. I'm going to say that twice. Where others are not othered or colored, but covered, right? By our desire to connect, to respect, and to protect. And not, I repeat, not to correct, not to elect, nor inspect or reject. This is where meaning becomes being and ultimately seeing. Humanity in front of me, inside of me, and then there's we. Yes. No other place I'd rather be when I see you and you see me. That is how we all get free and where Storyberg centers humanity. So with that being said, let's call up our first person to the stage. I got a couple snaps. Boom, boom, boom. So our first storyteller, I realized when I walked into the room that I had met this sister, and I think it was early in 2022. I was getting a master's in social justice and community organizing, and I said, who would I look to in the city of Pittsburgh and the surrounding areas, McKeesport, for information? I had to do a one-on-one. And the name that I got was Fawn Montgomery. Walker. Yes, absolutely. Let's clap it up for her already. So as Fawn comes up, you can come up, stand right beside her. As she comes up, she is the CEO, and I want to make sure I'm getting this right. And this is
Take Action Advocacy.
That's right. Take Action Advocacy Group, consultant group. Her favorite game is Uno. And this was a surprise to me. She likes WWE wrestling, y'all.
This is awesome.
A good kickball game, some Nintendo, and her favorite games are word games. So let's give it up one more time for Fawn.
So hello, everyone. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Because I don't really speak loud unless I'm upset. I'm not upset today. So when I read the lineup and I have to go first, I said, no pressure. No pressure at all. But thank you for having me. I want to thank my friend Autumn Redcross. She is the one who told me about Storyberg. I want to thank Will. Will was my first introduction. And then my amazing coach, Ms. Carla Arnold, who is over here. So thank you all. So you might have heard my name mentioned in speaking at a rally about social justice or Black liberation or on the TV, but today I'm going to be very open about my journey with healing, endometriosis, and how I learned that I'm more than just a community worker fighting for the movement. So I'll start with my experience with endometriosis. So hey, Liz. Hey, sorry I didn't cut the whole thing off, but I haven't seen her in a while. But my experience started.
You need to be closer, they told me.
Oh, be closer.
You don't need to. I just put that closer.
Oh, okay. My experience started at the young age of 12. I started my period when I was 11 and a half years of age. And it should also be noted, I also started my movement origin story. So we do have those. We're like Avengers or like WWE characters. I had my origin story at 11 when there was a curriculum in our school and they kept saying the N-word. So I didn't like it. So I went to my mom and she said, what you gonna do about it? I said, oh no, I'm 11 years old. What do you want me to do about it? So we went to the principal and the book got removed. So all of this was happening around the same time when I was 11, 12. The pain was really bad with my cramps that I would have to leave school a lot. My mom would have to pick me up probably like once a week. And at the very young age of 12, I had to go to the gynecologist. That was horrible, for a 12-year-old to have to go to the gynecologist. But the pain was that bad. So they put me on birth control. And I was on birth control for 11 years. And then the pain got even worse after I had my daughter. I had my daughter when I was 24. And the pain got to the point where I was passing out. I had to end up in the ER probably every 2 days. So then that was the point my mother really continue to teach me how to advocate. She gave me a master class in advocacy. So she would go to the appointments with me, and she would demand that they would test me for endometriosis. She had it. My aunt has it. My cousins have it. So she figured that I may have had it. And I was too young at 12 to do it. So she pushed them to do the laparoscopy, which is how you actually diagnose endometriosis. So at the age of 25, I was officially diagnosed. And what the disease is, it is scar tissue that, goes around your uterus, and it grows more when you have a period. So at a young age of 25, I was diagnosed. And from there, I had various DNCs. So DNC is a procedure that's commonly used to treat endometriosis. I had like 5 or 6 of them. They mentioned a hysterectomy as soon as I got diagnosed at the age of 25. Well, the best thing to do is just have a hysterectomy. I was like, well, I'm 25, so I'm not having a hysterectomy. So they put me back on birth control, the Depo-Provera. I did that for 2 years. This caused issues with me being able to get pregnant again. I took my period away altogether. So then I had to get on something else to have the period come back. So that was an infertility struggle that me and my husband went through for years and years. Tried different procedures. Nothing really worked. I kept going to the gynecologist, making sure I was up on all my appointments. I went to the endo clinic they do have here at McGee. I went there once. I was around 34, and once again, they said you should have a hysterectomy. So I'm not having a hysterectomy. I'm just too young for that. And I said, why do y'all keep telling me to do that? And then I was reading that for Black women, we constantly were having hysterectomies. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. So I didn't do that. And basically, I just dealt with the pain. A lot of ER visits, more than 10 CT scans, doctors not believing my pain, saying, oh, you're tough, you got this. I seen you on TV. So you can fight this disease. And much as I said no, like I can't handle it, they just kept doing that. I started to have a lot of stomach problems around this time too. And they said I had diverticulitis, ulcers, IBS, the whole gambit. So they was like, you have to change your diet, you have to relieve your stress. So they blamed me and I blamed me. I was like, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just eating wrong or like something. It's my stress level. I don't know. That went on for years. And things came to a halt in around November of 2021. I started to get intense pain, like in my pelvic area, right and left sides. I thought maybe it was diverticulitis. I went to the hospital. They couldn't diagnose me. They was like, we don't know what it is. Diverticulitis didn't come back. Your CT scan came back fine. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to keep figuring out, what is wrong with me. The pain got so intense. It didn't stop until July of 2022. And that was after my hysterectomy. And that was really where I had to kickstart like some kind of resolution. And throughout that time, I was in constant pain. I was in the ER weekly. I was taking 6 to 10 Tylenol a day just to survive. They did all these CTs and they said, well, you have inflammation. And diverticulitis had begun to run all these tests. No one ever mentioned a gynecology consult when I went to the ER, even though I have endo and it was diagnosed. They never brought it up to me. Everyone has told me, this is just a reproductive disease. I didn't know that it could spread. So if I'm going to gynecology, I'm thinking that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I had suicidal thoughts at this time because I'm like, no one's listening. I had a support system, my husband and my mom and my friends, but the doctors are like, oh, you're fine. Like all the tests are coming back. Maybe it's in your head. They tell you, oh, maybe you should go talk to someone. Like you go talk to someone. Like I'm over here dying. So I just got sick everywhere. I got long COVID around that time too, because the 2020 uprisings were happening and the election, and that took a toll on my body. Not to mention where I live. I live in McKeesburg, the Mon Valley area. I don't have clean air or clean water. So all of that kind of went into it. I kind of went into solitude, really started fighting for myself, did my own research, and seeing that a lot of women were experiencing this, were having endo or they had the cyst or fibroids. So I took myself to a bladder doctor and a gynecologist and said I had pelvic muscle spasms. Gynecologist said, oh, well, your cysts aren't that big, so you're fine. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not fine. So I demanded that I go see an endo specialist. And after calling around, I got an appointment with Dr. Ted Lee, who's supposed to be one of the best in the country. He was here in Allegheny County. No one bothered to ever tell me that. I just had to find him on my own. When I got to see him, he had examined me, and within 5 minutes, he said that my endo had spread to my rectum, my stomach, and my bladder, and I had to have a full hysterectomy immediately. So that was a major reason for my pelvic pain and the pelvic muscle spasms. So I had to fight to get on his schedule. But I literally called every day. If they didn't answer, I just emailed. I was like, well, I'm not going to die here waiting for your schedule to be open. So I just kept calling. I got the surgery. One thing I do want to mention that helped with the pain was CBD because it helped with the inflammation and the loosening of the pelvic muscles. So that was my husband. He was just like, maybe we can try this because nothing else was working. And it worked wonders. The surgery was horrible. It was a 7-hour experience. They nicked some urethra, the tube that connects the bladder somewhere. And they had to get a specialist to come in for that because my endo was at a stage 4. So they had to peel away all of the layers. So I had to wear a catheter for a while. The pain did not improve immediately, but eventually it did. And I always knew that hysterectomy was not a cure because there's no cure for endo. So I always knew that, but I had no quality of life. So it was to the point where I had to decide if I wanted to die or if I wanted to live. So I decided I wanted to live. So I had the procedure. So I knew it would come back and that, that may be an option, but I had to make a decision. So the recovery process really helped me ground myself and connect to some ancestral healing practices. I started to unlearn white supremacy. So what I mean by that is I had to unlearn my relationship with capitalism, with being productive, and with urgency. So I started to assess why I would be in pain, but still leading protests, because that's what I would do. So you would see me on the news, you would see me out there, you wouldn't know that inside, like I was literally dying. So I had to ask myself, why do I treat myself like a machine or treat myself like a robot? I realized that a lot of my relationships were tied to labor. And a lot of Black women have died for this movement in this county, and I didn't want that to be my story. So I kicked off a journey of radical self-care, and I was cutting everybody off. Just like I was blocking my mom, I was blocking my brother, anybody that was stressing me out, I was blocking folks. I really had to get a grasp on why I would fight this hard for everyone except for myself. And you can really only do that alone. And there was people who would say, oh, rest, but rest until I need you, kind of thing. But I'm going to call you when I need you. I still want you to rest. So that's where the radical self-care came in. So I went to deep reflection. I continued to use the CBD. I worked on my diet. My pain went down to like a 2 to 3. I sought a holistic care. So I had an endohormone wellness specialist. And she did a GI map assessment, seen I had leaky gut. So the endo was causing all of these things. I had leaky gut. I took supplements for that. And then I kind of started to hear from my ancestors. And I always felt a connection to my ancestors and the movement work. But this was really something that was different. The connection grew deeper. And I heard from them that I was supposed to meditate. And also that I had been healing myself for years. And I just hadn't tapped into that. So through the meditation, I heard that I should do deep breathing, yoga, find a tribe, change my diet, and really have a rest practice. And I also heard hoodoo. So hoodoo is an African set of spiritual practices that is from our enslaved ancestors. They could not practice their religion, so they hid hoodoo. So I heard hoodoo, and it's really like earthly magic where you grow your own medicine, you grow your own food. So I really started to do that. It was very instrumental in my whole healing process. And then when I finally went to PT therapy for the pelvic pain, they said that the number one treatment for that is breathing and meditation and yoga. And I said, well, wow, that's what the ancestors were trying to tell me. And I'm having a hot flash, but I wouldn't have heard that had I not listened. So I'm still dealing with the endo. I do have ovarian remnant syndrome. So basically when they were pulling it apart, they left a little piece in there. It wasn't as bad as first with the pain, but now it's starting to come back. But I do feel like I can better manage it now. So some of the lessons I learned was I have to be deeply committed to myself, just as I'm deeply committed to the movement. I started a blog to raise awareness because when I was going through my stuff, that's where I got support. It was the blogs and the support groups that I found online. So I started doing that on my own. And in true, Fawn fashion, I want to close with a call to action, but it's not what y'all think. I'm not asking y'all to do anything. Really asking people to look into themselves, especially Black women, and understand that we are not machines. And we are not put here to work for capitalism. Rest is truly revolutionary. Adapting this helped me to understand and embrace a soft life. So to me, when you're soft with yourself, you can be soft with others. Some people don't agree with the soft life for Black women or women, period. But when you can love yourself, then you can really love anyone. The radical self-care and the holistic practices was a necessity to me. It was a means to survive, really. So just because I say soft life, I'm going to correct that. That means you won't see me in the streets this weekend, because you might see me in the streets this weekend protesting. But self-love is the bravest love. And I'll close out with a quote from Trisha Hershey. She has a book called Rest is Resistance. Please read that if you have not. She says, loving ourselves and each other deepens our disruption of the dominant systems. They want us to be unwell, fearful, exhausted, and without deep self-love, because you're easier to manipulate when you are distracted by what is not real or true. Thank you.
Let me say this, y'all. My singer over there. Let me say this. I forgot that I was probably the most emotional person in here. And I'm the MC. I cannot be this emotional on the first person, Fawn. Let's give it up one more time for Fawn, you guys. I was just like relating because Miss Kate, I'm too emotional to be the MC. When she came in, she's like, are you tired? I was like, how do you know I am in here pretending like I'm not tired? Nobody else noticed, but Kate came in and noticed like right away. I'm like, I haven't really slept in like 2 months because of this knee. And so I'm listening, and I got the book. Michelle King gifted me that book. It's on Audible and everything. I got to dive into this book. And I just want to say thank you once again for sharing that story. Woo! Okay. All right, so next up is Miss D. Where you at, Miss D? Where'd you go? Oh, she had to run. So as Miss D prepares, oh, there she goes. Hey, Miss D. We gotta go. She is going to come up, and her name is actually Danisha Hobbs. We're calling her Miss D. Her favorite game is Monopoly. Of course, she loves them Steelers. She's a Steelers fan. And Connect Four was her game back in the day, and her favorite games are Sudoku type games. So let's give it up for Miss D.
Thank you so much. All right. Hello, everyone. I would like to give a thank you for Miss Joanna for letting me know about Story, and Miss Mickey for being my coach. And it's been a long time since I've talked and told a story, but it's okay. It's good to have a moment. My name is Danisha Hobbs. I'm a surviving African-American woman of domestic violence. I'm 44 years old, and I'm a loving, dedicated mother and grandmother. I just wanted to share how I survived domestic violence that could have taken my life and my precious children's life, but the mighty power of God really took a toll, and He kept me and my family safe. I'm just so blessed. So with that, I'm just thankful to protect me and my family through this traumatic experience. I'm so glad to be alive today. I want to share my great news with the world, and I pray and hope that my situation may help someone going through any crisis, so they will or may not have to suffer as bad as I have. I'm originally from Los Angeles, and I have been out here since I was 14. I love Pittsburgh. God bless my grandmother. She had diabetes, and I lived in Bellevue. I went to Northgate. I love Northgate. So when I finished high school, it was awesome. I enjoyed my childhood. Everything was blessed. There was nothing wrong. I miss California, but more family is out here for me. So I had my first child at 21 and 2 more girls at 25. So I have 3 girls and 2 boys and 3 grandchildren. And my daughters, I call them my incredible dream girls. And my sons, I call them my true action warriors. Batman and Spider-Man is our favorite characters of the boys. They are my reasons for truly living. Once I became 25, I had my first experience of domestic violence. I did not see the signs coming to me when he was jealous of me having so much family and friends that loved and supported me, and jealousy came in. So he was accusing me of cheating on him at work. He started to choke me at the neck, slap me around, and didn't apologize. And I thought everything would have been okay if just that one mistake of women going through emotions and domestic violence. So then one morning I was getting ready for work, and before I got out the door, he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Going to work." He said, "I deserve all your time today. You're going to stay with me." So I was locked into the bedroom. He handcuffed me to the bed. I was terrified at how can you love someone that hurts you, but you think that it's love and it's not. And he was drinking alcohol. So because he needed more alcohol, it gave me a chance to escape. A lot of women, we do errands for relationships and things that we do. So I was able to escape, and I was able to save me and my daughters with the SWAT team, with the police to help and everything. But it was mainly God that helped. It was mainly God. So after the first time experiencing domestic violence, I moved on doing good. I got to be 28, and my third daughter was born. So I had another episode of the same type of drama of domestic violence, but without the handcuffs. So I started thinking, what am I doing wrong? And I realized one thing: you never bring the past into the present, because even when you're in relationships and things you're doing, the past into the present, they get to know about everything about you. And when things go wrong and any disagreements or arguments, they use it against you. And it becomes a more problem. So I moved on, and I was happy to think everything was all over. I had my 2 sons, a bigger, beautiful house, and here came round 3, but this experience was the worst, and I did not know if I could survive this one. So at 34, my old house that I lived at on the north side, I'm from north side, everyone knew me as a loving, caring mother who loved her kids. I would babysit everyone's kids. I went to events, programs. Went to a lot of wonderful places. But I lost my house and children because of the stranger danger of relationships and people. You can never mix that when you're a mother of 5 and have a grandchild at the time. And it just, CYF got involved, and it really took a toll. So, and the abuse, the neighbors heard from me every month. I had lost the house due to everything. So it was rough. I went to a lot of programs. Pyramid was a wonderful rehab. Women's Center and Shelter I always loved, because they really cater to the women in Pittsburgh going through domestic, and it helped me, along with God. Thank God that my mother and my father had custody over my children, and they were not able to be separated into the CYF system. And that's a huge blessing that I'm thankful for, because they would have all been separated. And that would have teared my dream completely more. So, and once again, that was God. It was God that saved me through all 3 times. and I'm done with it. I've moved on, got myself together, and now I'm doing good. It was a lot of drama. I was locked in closets in my own house with nothing to eat until somebody felt sorry for me. Abused, raped, threatened to be shot and killed if I do not do as what I was told. My way of surviving is God. And he put a friend in my life that saw me with the kids when things were doing good. And now he was on the north side. He helped me get rid of the drama person I was with. And now I'm engaged and doing good. I got visiting rights with my children. I see them every day. I'm with them. I don't have custody of them, but I'm with them every day. I could see them and just pray with them, say goodnight. And it's amazing how God is. So God is real. I'm living proof of it. And I just want to be recognized and heard that no woman is alone through this domestic squabble that we all go through. And I pray for peace, that we'll get through this. And thank you for having me here today. All time and patience, hearing my story. May God bless you and be with you all forever.
Okay, wow. Give it up for Miss D one more time, you guys. I'm not crying this time, you guys. I'm just saying. Ooh, wow. And I'm sure you blessed a lot of people with that. We thank you once again for sharing. It takes a lot of courage to get up here, don't you guys think? While you're sitting out there, though, I want you to start thinking about, if you have not done this yet, you might be somebody that might want to take the opportunity to share your story that might help somebody like Fawn and Miss D. I'm sure helping us tonight. So just think about it. You might be next on the list, Miss Pam. We'll have them signing up before they get out of here. So let's talk about the game changers real quick. A little crowd participation. I got to go with basketball first, just because my man Mike and my girl Malaeja are here. So game changers in hoops. I'm going first. I'm going to go with 2 game changers. Of course, we got to say Michael Jordan changed the game. Of course, give him 2 claps. Yes. Then my favorite player, I know you didn't ask, but I got to tell you, my all-time favorite player is none other than the crossover, Allen Iverson. Give him 2 claps. That's right. So give me some names. Who y'all got? Who's the game changer in hoops? Kobe's okay. All right, Kobe. I'll give Kobe 2 claps. All right. Mike, who's your game changer? Kobe, yeah, all right, we right there. Okay, what up in the front? I know y'all know a little bit about hoops. Come on. No, you're like flatline? Jordan? Okay, all right. Rodman, we got a Rodman fan up in the front. He definitely did with the, what was that? The brawl in Auburn Hill, the Malice in the Palace. He did change the game that night. With the fight, with the whole stands. You guys got to look that up if you don't know nothing about that. So next we have Marketa. I'm not sure if she came in. Okay. Marketa! Let's go, Marketa. I didn't get your games and all that. So I'm going to interview you right now before you get ready to go. So Miss Marketa, what's your favorite game? Scrabble. I like that. I love your hair, by the way, too.
Thank you.
Also, what have you ever? Thank you. What game have you ever attended that was great? Any attendance, like a Steelers game, anything like that?
I attended a Pirates game before.
Pirates game?
Hockey games.
Couple hockey?
Mm-hmm.
My hockey's sort of, I don't know if y'all ever been to a hockey game.
violent.
It's fun though.
It is. It's
I had
really
like
fun.
a blast. Okay, what was your favorite game as a child?
I think it was Jack's.
Oh, little Jacks. And last but not least, what are your favorite games now? Your favorite types? Is it sports or is it a board game? What kind of games do you like?
I like word games.
Word games.
I like, I don't know.
That's enough.
I love to read.
That's enough. Reading can be a game, and it's fundamental.
Yes, it is.
Hey, you guys, give it up for Marketa.
I think I'm covering this. Can you all hear me? All right. This one is not going to be easy. Okay. of all, I'd just like to thank my sister, who is my coach, for inviting me here, and also for Jill for being in attendance, and my mother and my Aunt Trudy for coming as a surprise today. Okay, my title is, of my game changer is Death of My Husband. Okay. Whew. This is gonna. So. Ooh. All right. I met my husband in 2019, unexpectedly, while my sister Lynette and I were out for lunch. My black cowboy, 6 feet tall, dark chocolate skin, locks that went down his back, a smile that could light up the world, and a strong physique. He was the most extraordinary man I'd ever encountered. From the moment we met, there was an undeniable attraction between us. Our connection was magnetic, akin to the harmony between my Libra sign and his Aries nature, polar opposites. His vibrant personality was larger than life, and I couldn't fathom how someone like him could be from Pittsburgh. His essence seemed too grand for the confines of this particular city, yet he was so much more, and he stood out in so many ways. I loved him from the beginning, and I saw so much greatness in him. I was seeing him through God's eyes, and no one could tell me different. It was crazy how I had never met him, although my family lived in the same neighborhood he grew up in. And a few of my siblings already knew who he was. He was from Belsuva. I spent most of my time in Homewood, where my family initially lived. We continued to enjoy life and one another during the upcoming months. He had first love energy. He brought so much excitement to my boring life. He made me want to live. And although he was impressed by my work ethic, he caused me to want to do more than just work. He worked hard as well, and even attained his asbestos certification that year. He encouraged others to do positive things and found work for those who needed it. I was impressed. Then as quickly as we started, everything stopped. My detachment game was normally on point, but with this guy, it was different. He had already made an impact. I thought of him often, but I don't chase men. So I kept moving forward in my life. It took him 2 years to find me again. When he reached out, I made him wait. He always asked me why it took me so long to respond to him. I never forgot the love Jones I had for him the first time around, and I wasn't about to let this man play with me. He captured me the first time, and when I allowed him back in, he captured me all over again. I mean, he made it like no one else existed before him. This time, he was more established, had done some work on himself, and lived in my neighborhood. We began dating and enjoying each other on a more serious level. He stimulated my intellect and ignited my sapiosexual tendencies. I loved his uniqueness, his sense of style, and his sense of humor. He was a grown man, and he was making things right in his life. I was happy to be a part of it. On 2/22/22, I married my best friend. This created a whole new role for him, a husband. He took that role so very seriously. He was even more protective than he had been before. He not only took care of me, but he was also gentle with me. I once asked him what changed. He would say, I prayed for you. I married you. You're my wife, and I'm not doing this again. To find a wife is to find a good thing and to find favor, he would say. He was a provider and worked very hard to ensure we were taken care of. Since he was a construction worker, he was often in lots of pain after work, on top of the fact that he had also been shot a lot of times in his life, 20 to be exact. He never came home empty-handed. He was always so giving and so thoughtful to everyone. He once gave a wardrobe to a young man who needed clothes, nice stuff. He loved dressing me up. He couldn't wait to see me in new outfits and shoes. He prayed for me every day. He was the early bird and I the late owl. He watched the 11 o'clock news faithfully. Then it was bedtime. I loved laying on his chest and listening to his heartbeat. And I loved the way he would wrap his strong arms around me and draw me in. And yes, we spooned. He was impressed that I always knew how to turn with him like clockwork. We just knew one another. He learned how to wake me up without startling me. I'm a dreamer, so it's important to wake me up peacefully. He would kiss me so softly until I came to. I loved the way he handled me. I also loved our morning coffees, our trucking ventures. I was a truck driver. Our constant video chats, and the millions of times he told me I was beautiful and his angel. The many, many posts and videos where he expressed his love or concerns. I'm so grateful that he captured so many things. The times I wanted to just hide, but couldn't, because how in the world could you hide with him? The way he loved, thank you, Mommy. The way he loved how I come from a talented family and would say he married into a musical. His talent mixed with our talent would have been so awesome. I just know it. He was the one who covered everyone in prayers. He always said he had this special relationship with God. His life was spared so many times. When we had COVID, he took care of me. I remember feeling so weak and my body being racked in pain. One moment while I was asleep, I woke up to him speaking life back into me. I heard him whisper how proud he was of me and how good at life I was doing. He didn't even realize I was tired of constantly pushing through things, of staying positive and pulling myself up, of how much I wanted to give up. I needed to hear the words he spoke so badly. He was always so on time. That's the teammate I had. I wanted to show him something different. Life wasn't easy or perfect, but I wasn't going anywhere. I believed in him. I believed in us. I never forgot the man God showed me. He, like me, had a desire to heal the relationships between Black men and women. We also did not care for those who pitted us against one another. We were both lovers in spite of our past. We fought an uphill battle and we tried. We didn't have many examples of good, wholesome, successful marriages, and so many of our families were no longer intact. That's why it was so important for my husband to heal his relationship with his daughters and be a strong, consistent presence in the lives of his grandchildren. He wanted to give something he didn't receive. He admired the relationship I have with my daughters. He enjoyed talking to my dad, Mark, and said there were things he needed to glean from him. He wanted to be the best he could be and fought hard to do it. He had a mentor he respected and looked up to. He and I even started therapy sessions. I told him he was almost perfect. Even on our bad days, it would be him I'd choose. I was grateful to have him. On March 25th, 2024, everything changed. A police officer showed up on my doorstep and asked if I knew Nigel Pryor. Once confirmed, he informed me that my husband was dead. My proud husband, with all that life and all that love, was gone. All I heard from there was that my husband was lying next to the river. Someone saw him fall in. There was a splash, no foul play, and there was a video. I'm usually cool, calm, and collected, but I lost it. I tore my steps up, so they had to call my mother, who was an hour away. My mother, my Aunt Trudy, both sides of our family Everyone showed up at our place, and people didn't leave me alone. It's been a month and a half, and I'm grateful to say I'm still not alone. Here is a portion of the tribute I wrote to my husband 4 days after he died. I can see. I will forever I thank God that you were so sweet, loving, and peaceful during our last moments. I had Safe in His Arms playing on Spotify while I prayed and worshiped in our bedroom. You embraced me and asked me why I was crying. I couldn't give you a good answer because I didn't know. I had been weeping all day. God knew, and His Spirit was already comforting me. You removed my hands from my face and pulled down the blanket. You embraced me again and asked, with the sweetest voice, why I was crying. I'll never forget your voice. I didn't know why I was crying, nor did I realize that would be the final time you held me, kissed me, or smiled at me. But God knew. Of course, you also put me on assignment to figure out a name for the business, your construction business, and to check the registry. And then you let me know the 2 places you plan to go that day. I've struggled greatly with this. Feeling like a toddler who is not getting what they want, I have wrestled with God. Because how is this even real? And while I still feel His presence daily, my husband's, how is He not physically here with me? You wouldn't know it to see Him, but as active and strong as my husband was, he lived in pain. He struggled, fought, pulled himself up from the ashes of his past. He was a different man than the one I heard about. Proud is an understatement when it comes to how I feel about him. To me, he is a mighty man. He's the man God showed me he was, and he was now walking in it. So I didn't heed their warnings. I mean, I'm probably the most stubborn person I know. I think for myself, and I'm not easily influenced. If I love someone, I love them for myself, and I'm prepared. I am prepared to stand beside them alone if I have to. My husband knew a lot of people, but he didn't hang with anyone. He was haunted. He had so many questions about things that occurred in his past. He found a safe space with me. I was his person and he was mine. It was our world. I often prayed for my husband's liberation, and now he's finally free. I just knew that I would see him free with me, but God had other plans. God has a grand design for me as well, one that entails my freedom. While I miss him dearly, I'm thankful he's found peace. Letting go is crucial. After such a weight was lifted, I refuse to be tethered by burdens. I'm not going to close myself off to the blessings God has for me. I honored my husband during our time together. I was a faithful wife, and I was loyal. Nigel LeBar prior was all I needed and wanted. My commitment to him was steadfast. Showing him a level of dedication was unique and true. I showed him something different. It wasn't easy, but it was definitely worth it, and I would do it again, 1,000,000 times over. I haven't stopped writing since my husband died. I can't stop. Through my healing journey, I will be constantly writing and speaking about my husband because I'm not the only one who has and will lose a husband. Someone lost their husband today. Someone will lose their husband tomorrow. There will be some of us who feel the need to search for all the answers because you trust no one. Your husband may die suddenly, and the investigation of his death may be pending for a long time. You will insist on viewing the phone that suddenly comes back to life after 3 weeks, not because of women, but for those friends who didn't feel right. You'll want to view the video of your loved one's last moments. You will defend your love because You will have to be the voice they no longer have. You will want to spend time with those who truly knew and loved your husband. You will come out of character toward the person who blames you for your husband's death, since of course it had to be a suicide, right? You will laugh at them because they had the audacity to make up such things. You will snap on anyone who even thinks of coming for you about your husband, because who are they? And where were they this entire time? And how dare they come for you when he probably lived longer because of you? It will disgust you when men approach you thinking you'll fall for them. Wrong one, bro.
Say that.
Everyone will expect you to take it because you're the nice one and should just play dead. You won't be that nice. You will no longer care to hold yourself together. You will have to be reminded to breathe. You may forget to eat all day. You will cry everywhere and at any given moment, although you were just doing so well. You may want to die too. You will forget your upbringing. You won't care because your husband is dead. The whole thing will piss you off more than anyone. You were the one who shared your entire world with your spouse. So it would be best that they just support you. I am pissed. I'd love to move further along in my healing journey, but this is still so fresh. There are still so many unanswered questions, and an investigation is still pending. I will open myself to God's blessings because I still have so much to live for. For now though, excuse me, I'll continue on with my husband because I still feel him around. I will cherish the special times when I know he's near and the dreams where he shows up and is more himself than ever before, where he's hugging me, flipping me, and carrying me in his strong arms, where we are having so much fun, where I question him about my weight, because how is he able to lift and flip me so easily? His response being, your weight. He is still not playing with me. I've never been too heavy for him. He's still building me up. In dreams where I'm outside in a long shirt and purple underwear. And for a second, I'm subconscious about this because people can see me. Then I no longer care, and I'm just enjoying my time with him, where I'm no longer sad that he died, where we are just having a blast and everything's all right.
You want to get a hold of me? You guys, wow. Let's just all sit for, let's just breathe for a minute. Yeah. So I want to thank Marketa for sharing. You guys, I'm from Belsuver. Yeah. Wow. What I would say is that a lot of people long for a relationship like that. And I think this is a good step in transforming your pain into power. Yeah. So thank you once again. Thank you. Okay, let's go for the next person sharing. I met her a couple minutes ago, Miss T. Where you at, Miss T? Oh, what is this? It's me. It's me. It's me. Every time I call somebody up, they're in the bathroom. So, as I wipe my tears, more game changers. Okay, the music industry, game changers. I'm going to start again, just so you guys know. I'm going with, you'll find this hard to believe, Taylor Swift. I'm just saying, but let me not stop there. I'm a country music lover. So I forget what night it was. I think it was the night before Easter, and all through the house. At midnight, I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and the Beyonce country album was released. Let's go. And I listened to all 22 songs before I went to bed that night. Because I was at the beginning, you guys, because you might find this hard to believe. On occasion, I am the only Black person at the Toby Keith or the Little Big Town or the Carrie Underwood concert. And so when I found out Beyonce was doing country, I was like, I'm gonna have to see. And then I listened to the album and I was like, listen, Beyonce, you do whatever you want, girl. You do whatever you want. Okay, so is Miss T back? No? Okay, I got more. So you guys, give me some names. Who's your music game changer? Prince, absolutely. I seen Prince in person one time at the, what was it called? The Mellon Arena. That's how far I go back. Civic. I think I saw him when it was the Mellon, but it was originally the Civic, right? The Civic Arena. Prince, who else? Who's your game changer? Who's that? The Fat Boys are back. Boom, I ain't mad. I just heard that they were in a movie that I've never seen, Disorderlies. Boom, I've never seen that.
Can you tell us how you feel about Kendrick Lamar and Drake?
Oh, is this an interview? My pastor said she's giving me the hook. I'm gonna just be honest. I don't listen to neither one of their music. What you got, Kenny?
One is the entertainer and one's a real rapper. The real rapper won the battle.
That part, as my cousin would say, that part. Miss T's here. Come on up, Miss T. And her real name, full name, Teaira Collins. Teaira is all about, is that solitaire?
Yeah.
She likes a good game of solitaire. I remember my aunt used to play that back in the day. Her childhood games are hide and go seek and 1, 2, 3, you're it. Captain Midnight, which I don't know what that is, but
Captain Midnight.
I like it.
It was like somebody would stand at one end of the street and everybody else would stand at the other end of the street and they would say, Captain Midnight, can I please take so many steps?
Oh, that's what y'all called that? Oh, that was Mother May.
Yeah, but they call it the Captain Midnight. They call it the Captain Midnight.
And then crosswords and basketball. And I'm just planting this seed because I did it last year. And I think that's how I became the MC. I don't know. I was like in the audience. I was like MCing and heckling from the audience. And I had Marketa's sister sing last time. And so I heard you say safe in his arms. And we don't have to do that now, but maybe in the future before we leave here, we can get a family song with the mom and everything. I'm just planting the seed. I'm planting the seed. Give it up for Miss T.
So I had to go wash my face because Marketa, you know how much I love you. So you know how I felt about Nigel. He was like my son. So I had to go gather myself. My name's Teaira Collins. I am called Miss T. I want to thank Jo because she's the reason why I'm here. I came to see her do it. And after that, she said you should do it. So I want to thank Jo for this awesome chance. And I want to thank Kay, who was my storyteller person, and she stayed on me. So I am the executive director of Line of Judah Enterprises. It is a nonprofit for people of color with Down syndrome. I sit on the board for the Pittsburgh Food Policy Council with Jo, my executive director. I sit on the board with my girl from the Commission of Human Relations, and I sit on the board for Pittsburghers for Public Transit. So I keep myself very busy. And my story is called 24 Hours to Live. It was December 22nd, 93. There was a blizzard outside, and about 12 a.m. my water broke. I was awoken by the gushing of water and being wet. I got up, went to the bathroom to clean up, and called the hospital to let them know my water had just broken and I would be on my way there. They told me that that was impossible and I couldn't be in labor. So I told them, well, we'll see when I get there. So I hung up and called 911 and told them my water had just broken, and they said give them a half hour to an hour because there was a blizzard outside. So in the meantime, we had to figure out what to do with my 3-year-old son. So I called my mother and told her my water had just broken and that the paramedics was on their way to bring me to the hospital if she could meet us there to get my summer king. So the paramedics arrived around 3 a.m. or so, slid into our house, and with the lights on, waking up the whole neighborhood, they came in and I let them know my son had to come to the hospital with us. They put him in the front with the driver and told my boyfriend and me to get situated in the back. Radioed to Mercy Hospital that they were en route with me and my water had broken and my baby that was due on February 15th was about to arrive almost 2 months early. We arrived at the hospital about 4 a.m. and because they couldn't speed because there was a blizzard outside. When we got to the hospital, there was about 20 people at the door waiting on me. They get me out, and I say, if I'm not in labor and there is nothing wrong, why are there so many people waiting for me at the door? Well, everyone is talking around me, above me, and over me, but no one is talking to me. They get me changed into a gown, and the doctors ask to check to see how far I am dilated, and they discover the baby is breech and ask me not to push. They go out into the hallway and started talking amongst themselves and come back into the room and say they have to do an emergency C-section and ask me to sign some papers. I say no, I am not signing anything because you can go up in there and help turn around the baby because I am not going home to a 3-year-old and can't take care of him. So they asked me if the guy in the waiting room was the father of my baby. I say yes. So they go out in the waiting room and ask him to sign the paperwork for a C-section. And he asked them, did she sign the papers? They say no. So he says, I'm not signing the papers. They come back looking disappointed, and I say, he didn't sign the papers, huh? They say no. Meanwhile, they start taking and unplugging me and rolling me to the OR for a C-section. They get me in the OR, and they are in the hallways talking amongst themselves, trying to figure out how they are going to give me a C-section without my permission. The part they didn't get, my boyfriend couldn't sign nothing on my behalf because we weren't married. But I think they thought I didn't know my rights. Meanwhile, they knew something was wrong with my baby, but no one would tell me nothing, even though I knew something was wrong. Otherwise, why in the hell would these doctors at the door be waiting on me? So anyway, while they were in the hallway trying to figure out how the hell they were going to justify what they wanted to do, I said, excuse me, I feel a whole lot of pressure in my butt. They come in and check me and say, stop pushing. Your baby is not only breech, but she is butt first. I say, I told you to go and turn her around. You weren't cutting on my stomach, and I meant that. So as they started scrambling, trying to get the room ready for my baby because she was coming, whether they wanted her to or not. As she was coming out their hands, they had to cut me and deliver her breech, butt first folded in half. So at 4:54 a.m. on December 22nd, my little girl was born, weighing 4 pounds 2 ounces. They cut the umbilical cord and out in the incubator and rushed her off to the ICU, telling me it was a girl and she had to be taken straight to the ICU and be worked on, never telling me anything. They get me all cleaned up and put me in a room, bring my boyfriend to me, and about 6 a.m., they bring us a picture of my daughter. Tubes coming out of every part of her little body, her nose, her mouth, her hands, her feet, and was in the incubator and had just a mask going across her face. She was jaundiced and breathing way too fast. The mask across her face was to help her slow down her breathing, and she was under a heat lamp trying to keep her warm. I say to them, "What is wrong with my baby?" They never say, but they told me she had 24 hours to live. I asked them why. I told them, "I don't even know what she looks like. I haven't gotten to even hold her." She was whisked. She was whisked away as soon as she was born. They said her shoulder was fractured due to coming out the birth canal folded in half, and it could have been worse. I looked at them and said, "You just came in here and handed me a picture of my baby and told me she is going to die in 24 hours, and you're worried about a damn fracture? That would heal because it's gristle. I haven't seen her." I said, you don't have to say over my baby's life. Where does you get off telling me the crap and still haven't told me why? Take me to see my baby. They said one of the nurses will be in with a wheelchair to take me down there to see her. So while I'm waiting to go see my daughter, I called my godfather, Bishop Jonathan Gamble, in tears. At 6 a.m., he answers the phone. I told him, "God, Daddy, my baby was just born, and they are saying she has 24 hours to live, but nobody is telling me why and what's wrong with her." He says to me, "Baby girl, we serve a mighty good God, and no one has the say over your baby's life but God." He says, "I am on my way. You better continue to pray and believe God the way you were taught to." The nurse comes in with the wheelchair and takes me to the NICU, and I'm only able to put my hand into the incubator and touch my baby girl with tears in my eyes as I hold her hand, and I begin to pray and ask my God to please don't take my baby from me. I knew something was wrong with my baby long before she was born, and so did the doctors at Mercy Hospital. They just never told me. They knew from the ultrasound that they were doing that my baby was coming here with a rare disease and she wasn't going to make it. So as I sat there looking at my helpless baby girl, this black lady comes over from behind the desk and says to me, "I don't know what's wrong with your daughter, but you better call a lawyer," because they knew something was wrong. She told me to keep praying. I go back to my room, and about an hour later, here comes my goddad through the door with a look on his face with a smile. He takes my hand and says, "I already been to the NICU to see the baby girl, and I anointed her body down with oil and prayed. For her now I am praying with you, that God has the final say over your baby's life. And don't let no one come in here and tell you any different." He said to me, "You ask them if they believe in God, and if they don't, tell them to leave your room. No place for non-believers." When he leaves, I swear you could feel a gush of wind follow behind him out of the room like it was the Holy Ghost come through my room. The doctors comes in around 9 a.m. and once again talking around me and over me, not to me. The first thing out their mouths was, "I don't know what happened, but your baby girl is going to be all right." I looked at them with the biggest smile on my face, and I say to them, "God happened. That's what happened. And if you don't believe in God and miracles, you have no business in my room or talking to me or taking care of my baby. And by the way, what is exactly wrong with my baby?" They all look at me and my mom, my boyfriend, and my 3-year-old and say she has enlarged kidneys. They say they grew faster than she did and has to catch up to them. I wish I had a tape recorder to record these dumbass doctors who were standing in my face just lying to me about what was wrong with my baby. Anyways, they told me part of what was wrong with her, just lied about the outcome of what she was going to have to go through. She was in the hospital for 25 days, and we started her life of seeing all different doctors, but no one ever telling us what was really wrong with Lene. It took me to take her out of Mercy Hospital and transfer her to Children's Hospital at the age of 3. As I sat at the bus stop, waiting for the bus to come, a strange woman walked up to me and said, "I don't know if you have a girl or baby boy at home, but God told me to tell you to go home and get some sleep because your baby is going to be fine. God got her." I went home that night and slept like a baby. I hadn't slept like that in 3 years since she was born. We met Dr. Ellis, a nephrologist, a doctor who is specialized in kidneys. He says to me, "What's wrong with your baby? What's wrong with Lene?" I looked at him and says, "She has enlarged kidneys. And her kidneys grew faster than she did. And she has to catch up to them." He looked at me and said, "Who told you that?" I said, "The doctors at Mercy told me that." He looked at me and said, "That is partly true." He says, "Your daughter has a very rare kidney disease called polycystic kidney disease, and your baby's going to need a kidney transplant." He said her kidneys are covered in cysts. Meanwhile, I signed medical releases for forms to transfer Lene's medical records from Mercy Hospital to Children's Hospital several times, and they were never sent. My delivery and her medical records are nowhere to be found. Dr. Ellis took very good care of Lene, and when she had her first kidney transplant, he made sure at 13 years of age, she got her very first transplant, June transplant, just 9 days before her 8th grade graduation, that she was about to miss. Dr. Ellis said when she opened her eyes after her surgery, all she could say to him is she had to go to school. He said, "Let's see how recovery goes first, and we will see." He says, "She is doing great, Mom. Very determined to go to school." And was the first words out of her mouth when she awoke up. All I could do is laugh because she was one determined young lady, and she was a strange young lady who didn't want to miss her 8th grade graduation. Needless to say, she made it to her 8th grade graduation, being discharged in only 9 days after transplant, straight to school from the hospital, where she received a standing ovation from the entire auditorium, students, faculty, and parents. And that day I will never forget. My daughter, Lene, is 30 years old today, 1 year post-transplanted, second kidney. And she is doing great. God has truly had a plan for Lene's life because she is only the second person that has lived past 24 hours mark of living when you are born with PKD. It is a very rare disease. Most times it is hereditary, and you don't get it until you are 18 years old. But in my baby's case, she was born with it, and only one other person I know was born and was on the Today Show when he turned 18. And she was a little girl at the time. But know what a miracle is. I have witnessed a miracle, and I am living proof that God has the final say over your life. And thanks be to God. My baby, who was given 24 hours to live, is 30 years old today and beating all odds against her. And she is leaving tomorrow morning to go on her 1-year anniversary of being married.
Wow. All right. Get the high and the low fives back there. One more time for Miss T and Lene. All right. Okay. You guys, the stories are amazing. We're going to take a little break and we'll come back for these last 3 stories. It's been amazing. I'm honored just to be up here. And I'm hearing Pastor Leanne go like this. So let me wrap this up and we're going to take a little break. We'll be back. No, I'm just... You did. So coming up, fellow Hooper extraordinaire, Mr. Mike Dixon. Give it up for Mike. So let me talk about Mike a little bit. Native Northsider, Executive Director of Basketball Dreams. Of course, his favorite game is basketball, just like mine. Hey, championship game after college. He was at the best game. It was a championship game after college. Your coach, Scott Lang from LaRose College. You look up that name. Somebody I had just nothing for admiration for. He literally passed away, died on the basketball court, coaching practice, right? I never forget where I was at. I was at McKeesport High School. I got a phone call from his aunt, like saying, like, sit down. And I was like, oh my God, but this was Mike's coach. And he was one of like the greatest dudes I ever met. So I shout him out. And then let's see what else. So as a child, your games were just like mine, every sport, hide and go seek, release the den, cops and robbers. And so he's down for any challenge. It don't matter what game it is. He's competitive. It's Mr. Mike Dixon. Give it up for Mike.
I'm Mike Dixon. I am from the North Side. I am Mike and Dina's son. I am a man of God. I'm a coach, mentor, so many different things, from being a family member, uncle, brother. I heard everybody speak on Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? I believe he was a super game changer at a game of basketball. And in order for him to win a championship, I'm sure he had many game changers. And my championship in life is, my championship is life. You know what I mean? Being able to get up every day and have that opportunity to live. So here's my game changer. One of the many. It was a beautiful sunny Saturday, June 2nd, 2018, the weekend of my 28th birthday. I was so excited. I finally had secured funding to run my own youth basketball program. I had a team meeting and we were 1 week out from launching the program. I couldn't wait. Early that afternoon, my mom and I got food and we went to the Sprint store to get a new phone. It took way longer than expected, as these things do. I then rushed to my meeting and didn't get done until 7:30 p.m. Being downtown at that time of day on that night was crazy. This was June. The Arts Festival was going on, and the Kenny Chesney concert. Plus, there's always tons of kids downtown, regardless of what kind of events are going on. After my meeting, a lot of my team members were looking to enjoy the Arts Festival events and get drinks. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be drinking. My mind was solely focused on the program we were about to start. Plus, I wasn't dressed to even go out. Instead, I went home and showered and told my team I would let them know if I was going to go out with them. At the same time, my parents asked me if I wanted to come hang out with my aunt, my great aunt, my grandma, and some other friends. So I got dressed and decided to go there and decided what to do afterwards. On my way there, I noticed a Jeep got behind me once I turned off the Brighton Road. I didn't think anything of it, but when the car followed me, as I took a few turns, I began to wonder if the Jeep was my dad's Jeep. I thought maybe he was taking his friend's home, which was in the same area that I was in. I also didn't think much about it because I was taking the popular shortcut to get from Brighton to Federal Street. I was able to see it wasn't my dad, so I stopped paying attention. When I pulled up to my parents' house, I was on the phone and and was about to get out of the car when a car pulled alongside my car. It was the Jeep that I had seen on the way here. I couldn't see who was in the car, but I know that someone showed their face, and when I went to look and see who it was, the person in the passenger seat started firing shots. About 16 to 17 shots. I ducked, I dodged by leaning all the way back in my seat. Luckily enough, it wasn't an electronic seat, and I was able to pull a handle back to continue to maneuver to dodge the bullets in the back seat and out the back door. Went to run into my backyard. I saw my dad, my grandma, and my mom all ducking and crawling, and I stopped in my tracks. The last thing I needed was for the shooter to follow me and harm my family. They were now more danger than if I had just stayed in the car getting shot at. Thankfully, I seen the car drive off, and I began checking to see if everybody was okay, and if anyone got shot. I then noticed I was bleeding from my neck and my shoulder. I announced to everyone that I was shot, and I was going to my car. I drove to Allegheny General Hospital because it was literally right down the street from my parents. When I arrived, they told me I couldn't park there. I told them I was shot. They got me help and called the police. The police treated me like I was a suspect instead of the victim. They took my brand new phone and made me sign something allowing them to search it. I didn't care since I had nothing to hide. I just wanted to have my phone to talk to my family and friends. I had to stay a couple of days, but I felt better pretty quickly. After I left the hospital, my family convinced me to stay with family in Atlanta. I didn't want to go because I really wanted to start my youth basketball program. However, I decided to listen to their advice and moved down there for about 9 months. After that, I needed to come back to update my driver's license, and I ended up staying and finally started my youth basketball program, which I still run till today. I never did find out who shot me. All I know is that I didn't have any enemies, and it was either a random shooting or a case of mistaken identity.
Praise God. Thank God Mike's here. Thank you, Mike. Wow. Ooh, I'm telling you, God. God is real. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I was talking about, I can't remember, I was talking to so many people since I've been here, but we were just talking about you never know about like looking at people, like what people have been through. Right? And I was saying, when I was talking to the person, I was saying, that's what I say to the kids all the time. You never know what people are going through. So, it doesn't make sense for us to bully people when you know you're going through something and they may be going through something that's invisible to us. So, we're grateful you're here. I know I am. Okay. Whew, that was good. Next up, I just met her. It's Jenna Ammer, or is it Ammer? I knew I was going to mess that up. All right. What does that say? They say, charge it to my head and not my heart. Y'all got it. Okay, so let's get this right, Jenna Ammer. Most recently, she liked playing Wordle, but then she got on a kick, was playing Hurdle, which I've never heard of. All right. It's the music version of Wordle?
Exactly.
Ooh, as soon as we leave, I'm looking at it. All right, so you listen to clips of songs and have to guess that song. That's like name that tune for old school people like me. Yeah, remember that? All right, let's see. Your best game you attended was the Pittsburgh Penguins home game at PPG Paints Arena. Oh, wow, that had to be fun. Let's see. Slept overnight on the sidewalk to get the discounted tickets.
Yeah, it was the first game ever at PPG Paints Arena.
Come on now, that's history. You was there for the history. And they lost, but the energy wasn't me. Thanks for adding that.
I saw that Pens jersey when you came in.
And she loves word games, you guys. Please give it up for Jenna.
Thank you, everybody, for just being here and listening to everybody's stories. Just grateful to be amongst all these other amazing storytellers tonight. And many thanks to Joe. Lots of thanks to Joe tonight for making the connection, and to my coach Pam too. So, heard a lot of personal stories tonight, and my story starts with a sibling by my side on the north side. In playful rompers that tied at the shoulders and paired with jelly shoes and auburn hair tied in what my older sister affectionately called a Pebbles ponytail. Yes, after the Flintstones, I was Pebbles. I remember running around the immediate streets surrounding our 3-story house in Pittsburgh's Brighton Heights neighborhood. Always nearby was my brother Justin, who often you could find him riding just back and forth along Massachusetts Avenue, a street that he knew and would become part of his riding routine. And routine was something that to this day is very, very important for Justin. So at that childhood age, I didn't entirely realize that Justin was any different. We played the same, we laughed the same with silly smiles, and I'll always cherish those memories with my brother, who's truly the most amazing person that I've ever known. I'm going to start to get teary. Y'all got me going already. My mom, who's here tonight, as well as my dad, was a licensed practical nurse, and my dad a letter carrier for the United States Postal Service. And together they had us 3 kids, Jesse, Justin, and Jenna, born in that order. And I would say maybe by the time I was a preteen, they mostly got my name right without having to, first shout out the other J names first, easy to mix up. So while we were born in that order, it's kind of a funny and amazing and goofy and silly and just sad and depressing and uplifting in every adjective ever story, how I was younger sister to Justin, but became like an older sister at the same time. Growing up as a sibling to someone with special needs does that to you. And Justin lives with autism, intellectual and developmental differences, and also is dealing with a lot of mental health challenges. And because he lives with it, our entire family lives with it too. 6 years older than me, Justin was the middle child, but often the focus. He was the focus of many things, the focus of my parents, who continually to this day just try to do their best to make sure that he lives a happy life. The focus of, classmates and neighborhood kids who, thought it was okay to just call him names or even throw bricks at him one time. And lastly, my focus, and I will say that's, simply for being uniquely himself. And lastly, my focus in guiding light in life. As brother and sister, we share a special bond. And I think that's true for a lot of siblings, but I feel like with Justin and I, it's different, closer and more connected in a way. And maybe that's because he is different. And I have, essentially made it my life's mission to protect, encourage, and support him in everything that he does. We were not always so connected, though. While that may be true, or when I was little, yes, I enjoyed playing house and teacher with my brother, he the student, and myself the teacher. And it's funny now as an adult, because I find myself in that teacher role even more, helping him through life's challenges. And there have been many. But as I was going through those, odd preteen years, I remember feeling, it pains me to say, but I remember feeling, embarrassed and frustrated at times, walk faster, Justin, keep up, Justin, don't be so loud, Justin, don't flip out in the restaurant, Justin, don't make them stare at us, Justin, just be normal, Justin. And I think a lot of that was because I was a super shy young girl, was never really, confident of myself or, my looks or like who I wanted to be. But with Justin, it wasn't always so easy for me to hide. And for that, I am just ever so just thankful and grateful for him. He's taught me true kindness, compassion, patience, and that it is okay. It's okay for all of us just to be uniquely ourselves. And without him, I wouldn't be the same woman that I am today. He's inspired me in so many ways, fueling my passions for, everything from volunteering to just truthfully just trying to be a good person, showing true compassion for others. And he has made me stronger emotionally, mentally, and truthfully, that is something that we've often needed to get our family, get our family through some of our hardest times when Justin's life's challenges had him, just needing us the most. In some of those times, we'll talk a little bit about one of those times as we kind of envision, prying eyes as neighbors watched a disturbance in the suburbs. In my freshman year of high school, my family and I moved from a Northside childhood home to the suburbs for the quieter surroundings my parents thought ideal, and it would be us, bringing a disturbance to an otherwise quiet street. What about the neighbors? My mother anxiously asked as we followed police officers out of our home and watched them load an upset and uncharacteristically violent Justin into the back of their cruiser, ready to transport him to the hospital for urgent psychiatric support during one of 3 psychotic episodes that he would have. Don't worry about the neighbors, Mom, I said, half annoyed at the absurdity of the question amid the situation, but at the same time, I understood. She felt, how I felt as a child, as a preteen, feeling like all eyes were on me, on our family, with outsiders looking in, full of judgment because they could never understand. They've never been in that situation, a similar situation in their lives, and no way could understand. So as a child, embarrassed as people stared at my brother, as he was having trouble just expressing his emotions. Why is he yelling? Why is he swearing? Why is he throwing a temper tantrum like a toddler at that age? Fast forward to these years later, terrified as the psychotic episode unfolded in front of my eyes. Why is he yelling? Why is he swearing? Why is he in handcuffs? But I realize now, even though some people cannot and will never probably understand, they may empathize. And I would like to think that is what my family's neighbors were doing that night, as they most certainly were peering outside of their blinds and out of the transom glass of their doors, just wondering what was happening on this usually quiet suburban street. I would like to think that they cared about more than the spectacle. You're welcome for the show, my mom had even said. Half, with a crooked smile, as half of her wanted to cry, but the other half really just in that moment, needed to find something to laugh at. So I half laughed with her. And soon after, we piled into my Subaru. We, rode there with music on, with no music on, because there really was no music to fit the mood. Transition to that drive. My parents always got on me about gas. You can ask them. They're sitting right there. They still do. I'm 35 years old. Sticklers for a quarter of a tank. You must fill up. I always thought they were being ridiculously cautious. Just, that's silly. Until that night. When I was on empty, having offered to drive because my parents were too shaken, I prayed the whole way that we would make it there. And we did. And we were all too familiar with the parking garage at the psychiatric hospital from previous episodes. Having made visits to my brother our daily routine for weeks on end, until doctors assured us that he was ready to come home. So this time, though, going up the garage, noticed things were different. You couldn't just enter on any floor of the garage. I told my parents this, having, seen a sign posted, but they insisted on parking on their usual floor. Creatures of habits. Yes, you. So up we go, just round and round, up to the last floor of the garage, where we were asked by the staff member manning the parking gate to, politely just, turn around, park on a different floor of the garage. And in my flustered haste, I nearly took out the gate arm before it raised. And my dad, just put his hand on my shoulder and, just as a reminder to just breathe and calm my nerves. And after that, we all just sarcastically laughed that I would be the next one going into the psych ward had I crashed through that gate. Very possible. But truthfully and honestly, the whole situation with my emotions and brain running rampant, it made me feel like maybe I really did need to be there too. It was just a very, stressful, emotional situation. So, we just kind of did all we could to get through that. And we talk about sort of leaving the wrong way, but loving unconditionally the right way. So, tick, 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 time goes both fast and slow when you are, just waiting, worried, anxious, waiting for your loved one to be admitted into the care that they urgently need. By the time my parents and I left the hospital, this would have been in the early hours, very early hours in the next morning. We were there all night. I was drained, just drained like I have never been before. So much so that I turned and began driving the wrong way down a one-way street along Fifth Avenue. And I take that as kind of being like how it can feel to help your parents care for your sibling now, knowing that you're going to be their sole caregiver in the future. Not always confident, sure that you are headed in the right direction, afraid of doing something the wrong way. But if there is one lesson learned through my sibling journey with Justin, is that if you just continue to love somebody unconditionally and do your very best, you are doing everything the right way, and it's all going to be okay. So for siblings, for caregivers alike, in many different situations, you got this. I hope you continue to find the silly and the funny and the support and the comfort that you need to go through life's journey with someone so just uniquely special placed under your care. So that's my story. Thank you.
One more time for Jenna and her brother, her mom and dad, sister. It's ironic that you taught, this was your story, because just today we're doing, where I teach, we're doing a benefit run. We call it the benefit run. So we did all the class presentations today. That's another reason why I'm tired. I did 6 straight class presentations, 45 minutes in length to every class. And at one point I said, we're given to these different charities, these different causes. But the reality is when we think we're helping other people, and I work with kids, children with special needs, in reality, they're really helping us become better people. And so, I just wanted to say I was literally had your story in mind today. So thank you once again for sharing that story. It was awesome. Last but not least, she's over there rocking the Waynesburg gear. It's Malaeja White, y'all. She is coming up. Let's hear a little bit about her. Now, I just want y'all to know, I get a little introduction sheet, and she did something I would have did. She is typed up, and she spelled out the spelling and pronunciation of her name. So when I met her, I was like, oh, God, we have a lot in common. I'm one of them people, too. So let's see. Your favorite game, don't have one.
No, I like them all.
You like them all?
I do
Okay.
everything, yeah.
Okay, that's a little bit like me too, a little indecisive about the favorites. Okay, I'm there. Also, you played college basketball at Waynesburg.
Yeah.
Fellow hooper, my ECAC championship game. They won the women's championship game in the ECAC. Let's go. We gotta give it up for that. And so she likes all the games. Once again, sports, crosswords, Sudoku, you name it, she likes it. All of them. Give it up for Malaeja, you guys.
Hello, everyone. Couple things, just random. A lot of you guys' stories were like your story you talked about June 2nd, that's my birthday. I was like, okay, this is weird. And then, there's a lot of stories. I was like, that's actually on my life. That's pretty cool. So I just want to mention that. I want to thank Kay, my coach. She's awesome. Thank you. And also my friend Genevieve, we are baseball moms together and became best friends. And she was like, you should do this. We were baseball wives first, the best ones. So thank you, Genevieve, for telling me about this place. I love it. And thank you guys for sharing the stories. I hope you enjoy mine. Back in the mid-90s, there was a curly-haired, melanated girl about 6 years old walking with her mom to a family and friends gathering, celebrating addiction recovery. The sky was a bright blue with just a hint of clouds, and the sun kissed her melanated skin. This place was far from where she lived, but reminded her of her grandma's house because there was a reservoir right next to it, too. There were men on the grill next to a big pavilion, kids running around, and people waiting in line for that delicious cookout food. While she was sitting down eating, her favorite song started blaring out of the speakers. More money, more problems. She didn't know what the lyrics meant, but the beat spoke to her soul every time she heard it. And next thing you know, she was on that dance floor, moving and grooving. As her eyes peered from the floor to the ceiling of the pavilion, she realized a group of adults and kids had gathered around her. They were watching in amazement and cheering her on. That moment became a core memory for me as I went through life. That day was so impactful because I learned that people enjoyed watching me dance and it brought happiness to my surroundings. Performing was something I always loved to do. From the time I was in the 2nd grade, I started acting at my church, an hour-long musical. It was fulfilling to tap into other characters and release so much creativity. In 4th grade, I joined my city step team, the Black Parades. We performed in competitions and in parades, and I even made it on the news once. When I wasn't outside, one of my hobbies was to get my grandma's newspaper and grab the comic section. Yes, I did this every day, and yes, she cussed me out for messing up the order of the paper. Well, one day after reading some really good comics, I noticed that there was an ad in the paper for jazz and tap classes downtown McKeesport. This was perfect because I could learn another form of dancing, and like majority of kids, I've always dreamt about being on a Disney TV show. And those kids always had another skill outside of acting. This was going to be my game changer to get me on TV one day. With so much excitement bottled up in me, I walked over to my gram and I asked if I could take these classes. Immediately, her answer was no. And like any 4th grader, I had to ask again. Her answer was still no, but this time with a little more context. No, Malaeja, we don't have money for that type of stuff. My heart sank, but I understood. I walked away bummed, but not defeated. In the 7th grade, my best friend Liz's mom had passed away from cancer, so that means she had to move. That took a toll on me, and I stopped acting, and I had quit the step team. But in 8th grade, I remember having to go to an assembly. The high school theater group came and performed Grease, one of my favorite musicals ever, and just watching them had brought back a spark in me. I remember going to my grandma and saying, I want to be an actress. I felt that this is what I was meant to do. And in the most maternal yet mentor way, she said, no, acting isn't a stable income. You need a real job to pay bills. That was a hard pill to swallow that day. I never saw my future self doing anything else but performing. Now I had to find something I liked to do that would be considered a real job. 8th grade is when I got that reality check. And that year, we also bought a home computer. Yes, I am old enough to have experienced dial-up. I had a cousin named Mike who was my mom's generation. He was 6'2", light skin, bald on the top, salt and pepper beard, and he had the biggest sweet tooth you've ever seen. Now, Mike had his addictive struggles, but he was a genius. Anytime the computer caught a virus, he'd come over, grab him some cookies, sit down, click around, reboot, and voila, it was as good as new. And one day he showed me how to clean up a computer virus. And so began my rabbit hole of learning how computers worked. The first time I took apart a computer tower, my eyes widened with curiosity. And then during high school, AOL chat rooms were still the biggest social media experience, but a newcomer came on board, MySpace. And that opened up a whole new world of IT for me, coding. During my senior year, my school introduced information technology classes. I learned that IT was this new world that was always evolving, which was great for me because I learned quickly and I got bored even quicker. Me and my 2 guy friends, Scott and Mylan, were the top students in the class. Our teacher picked us to participate in a computer competition. I don't remember where we ranked, but I do not recall being upset about the outcome. I felt so nerdy at the competition. It was by far the coolest feeling to this day that I've ever experienced. But that's when the game changed. If I had to find a real job, it had to be in computers. This was the fun part of IT, but there was also a scary part I learned through my studies. Online scammers and predators are real and very active. I was unfortunately a virtual victim of both situations. Being the oldest of now 5 girls and becoming a godmom to Liz's daughter, it was now my mission to learn as much as I could to protect them from this virtual world. While looking into different college majors for IT, I stumbled upon the term computer forensics. That's it. I want to find evidence on the computer. It was the newest sought after job and needed more people it needed more people in the field as the internet and social media began to grow. Welcome to Waynesburg University. For my senior paper, I focused on the child pornography epidemic. I knew I needed to voice how important it was to use IT skills to protect and save as many children as possible. Thinking back on my college life, there were only 2 girls in my IT classes, me and Abby. In 2011, I graduated from Waynesburg University with my bachelor's degree in digital forensics. December of that year, I got my first real IT job at CMU. There were 4 of us, 2 men and 2 women. I eventually went on to advance my career and I started a position with my current employer. I entered that tuition reimbursement program and graduated in 2017 with my master's degree in digital forensics. Guess what? My first 2 years there were only 2 women in on the desktop team. Once she left, I was the only one there. I moved up again in the agency and now I work in our cybersecurity department. Guess what? I'm the only female on my team. Working with my current employer is where I was enlightened that I'm a unicorn in the field. I'm a woman and I'm African American. I never realized this had been my entire IT experience. See, like the beat of that song, IT spoke to my spirit and I had just been moving and grooving in this field. It wasn't until someone had pointed out the reality that I finally looked up and realized I never felt different because my male counterparts were around me cheering me on. And my passion for IT had added to the happiness of our surroundings. My grandma told me to find a career interest that would provide stability. I'm thankful and grateful for that reality check back in 8th grade. I would have hindered myself from finding an avenue I'm passionate about and really good at. I have that career that steadily pays my bills and provides for my family. Ironically, when you think about it, my grandma's advice became a game changer for my passion in life, and it ended up making me a game changer in my field. Today, I stand before you as a passionate cybersecurity analyst that performs in a seasonal Dollar Bank running commercial, modeling in fashion shows, casted in an internet series, and the bonus to all of this is that my grandma is alive and well witnessing the outcome of her positive note.
All right, I am calling Malaeja. We're changing your middle name to the Unicorn White because I'm thinking about this. She's a hooper, y'all. She's a dancer, y'all. She's an actress, y'all. And she's a cybersecurity expert. Come on now, that is a unicorn. Give it up one more time for Malaeja. Hey, I'm not gonna keep y'all too long. This has been amazing. I wanna thank, I don't know if Pam's coming up. I wanna thank Will, Pastor Leanne, all the performers, storytellers and performers. You got me talking about performers now, Malaeja, thank you. All the storytellers, the audience, all the parents. It's just been amazing to me. I cried at least 15 times. And I will take all those stories and hold them in my heart. Before you guys leave, if you haven't done already, please sign up so we can get you on a mailing list for everything. And consider being somebody that comes up and tells your story, because I feel like we've all been blessed by every single story. And there's something that each of us can take with us from what was said today. Once again, just a blessing. And I'm just happy and humbled to be a part of it. And I don't know if Pam and Will want to come up, but just one more hand for everybody.